Hey everybody, my name is Ryan if you don't know me, and today we're going to be knitting the kid hat. This is a hat that I designed a few years ago, but I never got around to making a tutorial for it, so that's what we're going to be doing today. So if you want to make this hat, keep on watching. In order to make the kid hat, you're going to need at least 3 colors of worsted weight yarn. The fourth one is for the pom-poms, so if you don't want a pom-pom, you're just going to need 3. And you're going to need a 16-inch 4.25 millimeter needle, some scissors, of course, and a stitch marker or 2, depending on how you like to knit. And we're going to start off by doing long tail cast on. So here I'm just wrapping the yarn around the needle 10 times to get me approximately 10 stitches. And then I'm just going to keep doubling that over 9 times for 90 stitches, or if you're making size large, you would do it for 100 stitches. And then once I get my long tail, I'm going to make a slip knot. In order to do a long tail cast on, you're going to have the long tail in front of you and the ball yarn behind you. You're going to pinch your pointer finger and thumb like that, and then you're going to grasp the 2 strands with the rest of your fingers, and you're going to form this sort of shape, and you're going to go into the thumb, around the finger, and out the thumb. Then you're going to drop it and pull it through and do it again. So you're going to go up into the thumb, around the finger, and out. Up into the thumb, around the finger, and then back out. And you're going to cast on 90 stitches for a small medium and 100 stitches for a medium large. This is what the stitches will look like on the needle when you're done. You just want to make sure that they are not twisted at all before we start our first round. So for the first round, we're going to do knit 1, purl 1 ribbing. And so I'm just going to kind of go slow here for all the newbies, but I will have some videos linked in the description if you're completely new to knitting and this is all foreign to you. I knit with my left hand, which is called continental, and I just find that a lot easier, especially for ribbing. And so yeah, you're going to knit 2.5 inches or 6 centimeters in knit 1, purl 1 ribbing for the brim of your hat in color A. And here we're going to add our stitch marker. You can just slip it onto the needle if you want, but I prefer to attach it to the work, so I just slip it right there at the beginning of our round. And so just know that your round will always start with a knit stitch, and yeah. And this is me showing you how to do ribbing the English way, which is throwing with your right hand. It's actually how I learned to knit the first time when I was a little kid. I just find it a lot slower because you have to move the yarn back and forth. But if that's your jam, some people are really fast at it. Just couldn't be me. And here we are at the end of round 1. It's going to look a bit loose and kind of funny here. It always does on the first round, so I just like to pull the tail a little bit, and then you're just going to go straight into the second round. It's the same exact thing. You're always starting on a knit stitch, and you're just going to keep knit 1, purl 1 ribbing for 2.5 inches. And here is the brim of our hat all complete. And I'm going to move up my stitch marker. I just place it in that purl column right before the first stitch, which is a knit stitch. So I'm just going to replace that up there. And I like not splitting any stitches, but it really doesn't matter. So next you're going to cut color A. We're not going to be using it anymore, and we're going to be introducing color B. And so to add a new color in knitting is super simple. You just loop it around your finger and then just go. Knit the first stitch, knit the second stitch. We're done with our ribbing, so we're just going to knit around in color B. And don't be too worried, it's not going to unravel on you. So we're going to knit 2 rounds plain with our new color. Now that we've knit our 2 rounds, I'm just going to tie off those ends. See, they didn't unravel. And I just do a double knot here. Fairly tight, but you don't want to do it too tight because then it can pull at the stitches. And we're just going to weave that in later, so just forget about it for now. And now we're going to start our garter pattern. So we're starting with a purl round. So we've just knit 2 rounds. So this next round is going to be all purl. So you're just going to purl all the way around, and I'll meet you at the end. We've come to the end, and even if I didn't have that stitch marker, you would know because there's a purl stitch on one side and a purl stitch on the other. And so now we're just going to knit this round, and you know you're doing it correctly because every purl stitch you see, you're just going to knit that. And that's going to create a garter pattern. Normally when you're doing garter pattern in flat, it's just knitting every round, but since we're never turning the work, since we're always in the round, you have to knit around, purl around, knit around, purl around. And so you're just going to knit in garter for 2.5 inches for a small medium and 3 inches for a medium large. And I'll meet you back when you're done. We are all done with our garter, and here I'm just going to flip the brim a little bit just so you see that it's just peeking past slightly the ribbing, which is what we want because we want this next pattern to show. So we're going to be introducing a new color. We're going to be introducing color C. And so for this, we're going to maintain 3 stitches of the garter. So we ended on a purl round, so we're knitting 3 in the blue, which is color B. And then we're going to introduce color C, which for me is orange. And so to add a color, just like before, just loop it on your finger, and you're going to add 2 stitches of color C. And notice how I'm using both hands. I find this much easier, but I will show you how to just do it with one hand in a second. So you're going to knit 3 color B, and then I slightly pull on the work when I do that, because if you don't, it sometimes can be too tight, because a hat is meant to stretch, right? Knit is stretchy, and we want to maintain that stretchiness. So you're just going to keep going back and forth, doing 3 of color B, stretching it a little, and then knitting 2 of color C. And I'll show you what it looks like in a second. And here I'm showing how to do the color work the English way, throwing. So you just knit 3 with color B, and then it's going to be really the same thing. You stretch it a little bit, you pick up color C, and then you knit 2. Honestly, this is fine. I just find it a little bit slower, which is why I use both hands at the same time, but this totally works as well. And since it's only 2 colors, you don't really have to worry about like twisting the yarns or anything. We're going to repeat this color pattern for 6 rounds, and make sure to maintain the garter. See, it's going to be knit and purl every other round, just like how we did before, but in color work. And so now we're going to cut off color B, which for me is blue, and we're just going to knit the crown area with color C. So you're just going to knit 6 rounds plain in color C. Now that we've knit our 6 rounds of color C, we're going to start our decreases. So I'm just going to quickly move up my stitch marker, and we're going to knit 13 for the small and 18 stitches for the large. A knit 2 together is the most simple decrease you can do. It's exactly as it sounds. You're just going to place your needle into 2 stitches instead of 1, and you're going to knit them together at the same time, and this forces one stitch to cross over the other, so it's going to lean to the right, and then you're going to knit another 13 or 18 and do it again. So for this decrease, we're going to have 6 decrease points, and you're going to be decreasing every single round. So it's going to be, the stitch number is going to be going down 1 every time. So this round is going to be knit 13, decrease, knit 13, knit 2 together, and then the next round is going to be knit 12, knit 2 together, knit 11, knit 10, etc., etc., etc. And here's that decrease again. You know you're in the right spot when there's one stitch in front of the twisted decrease stitch, because that's the one you're decreasing. And so you knit that two together and see how it lays directly underneath it and it's leaning to the right. And so yeah, we're just going to be doing that every round, switching to double pointed needles when it gets too hard. If you don't have a circular needle, you can just knit this entire hat on double pointed needles. I just find that a lot more finicky to me, and I feel like that'd be pretty frustrating for a beginner. But if that's all you have, you can totally do that too. So now I'm just going to knit directly onto my double pointed needles, maintaining the decrease pattern. It's not super different. You just want to make sure that you kind of keep the same amount of stitches on each needle and make it even. So here I'm doing another decrease. And because there's 6 decreases, I just put 2 decreases on each needle, if that makes sense, because there's 3 needles and then 1 active needle doing the knitting. So I'm going to finish this round and then show you what it looks like. Here's what all your stitches will look like on your 3 double pointed needles, and then you're just going to keep knitting until you get down to the top of the hat. And here I think I'm at 1 decrease. There's very few stitches left. At this point it goes really fast, but it can be a little bit finicky. Don't get frustrated, just go slow if you need to. And we're going to move on to the next needle, and I'll show you what it looks like on the last round. For the small, the last round is knit 2 together all around, and you'll have 6 stitches. For the large, after this round, you'll still have 16 stitches, so you have to do 1 extra round where you knit 2 together all the way around again. And so for the small you'll have 6 stitches, and for the large you'll have 8 stitches at the end. So once you have your final 6 or 8 stitches, you're just going to cut your yarn with maybe 6 to 8 inches of length left. You don't need a ton, but you want to give yourself enough to do a little bit of sewing, and you're going to thread that onto a tapestry needle, and a tapestry needle is blunt, and so we're just going to thread that on, and we're going to slip these stitches onto your tapestry needle. So there's 1, 2, and make sure you're not splitting any stitches when you're doing this. You actually want to go into the stitch, and then 3 and 4, and it's okay if they get twisted, but just try not to. And then our last 2 stitches, 5 and 6, and now we're just going to pull really tight. We want that little hole at the top of the hat to close. So there's the hole, and you're going to pull, pull, pull. And I always like to go through the stitches a couple more times just to make sure it gets super secure. So I'm going to go around one more time, just because this is like the only thing stopping your hat from unraveling at the top. And so once you go through a couple more stitches, we're going to poke the needle through to the back side of the hat, or the inside of the hat. I like that. And then you're just going to weave in your end. So you can make a knot and weave in your end. For some reason here I wove in my end a little bit and then made a knot. It doesn't really matter. You just want to make sure you make some kind of knot so that this doesn't unravel in any way, because that'd be super tragic doing all that hard work and then having it unravel. So yeah, and then I'm going to show you how you weave in your other ends. So this hat is designed to be worn with the brim flipped up. So you want to weave in the end actually on the front side of the brim when it's not flipped up, basically, so that you won't see it. So we're going to thread that onto a tapestry needle, and I just like to go through one column of knit stitches. So here I'm just going to focus my dang camera. And then I'm going to go through a knit stitch, and then I'm going to go back the other way through the next one, and back the other way through the next one. And I'm kind of diligent about my weaving in my ends, so I kind of overdo it. I go through like 5+ stitches, but it's really not going to unravel. And then yeah, you can't see that from the other side, so it looks great. And then you just clip that, and you kind of do the same thing with your other ends. Those are your 2 other ends, and then there's going to be one more where you changed from color B to C, and I did that off camera, and now your hat's done. But of course, no hat is complete in my world without a pom-pom. So now I'm going to show you how to make a pom-pom. And usually I use a pom-pom maker. You can get these at craft stores, but I know not everyone has a pom-pom maker. They're just really nice because they create very uniform, dense pom-poms that require less work. But if you don't have one, that's perfectly fine. I'm going to show you how to make one using a deck of cards or anything similar to this size. You could probably, I don't know, use your phone or just something that's this size. So I'm taking my fourth color, which happens to be green, and you're going to wrap it around your object or your pom-pom maker a million times. The more you do, basically, the denser it will be. So I like a dense pom-pom, so I just used whatever was left of this green yarn, which was a bunch. You're going to clip that, and then you want enough yarn to tie it off with, so I'm leaving about 12 inches here. And then you're going to wriggle your yarn off of whatever object you've used. Any day now. And then you're going to place that over your center yarn here, and you're just going to tie that off in the middle as tight as you can. So I make one knot, very, very tight, and then I flip it over and make another knot because I want this to be real, real tight. Otherwise, yarn will fall out of your pom-pom and you don't want that. So I'm going to do a double knot. And this is actually what we're going to use to attach it to the hat. So we want to make sure not to clip this yarn when we're cutting our pom-pom open. So now we're going to create the pom-pom. Don't be like me, don't use these tiny little cute scissors. Use like big craft scissors that are sharp. That'll make it go a lot faster, but here I am struggling. You're just going to clip open all these loops of yarn on both sides until you get sort of a pom-pom. And here I'm speeding it up because it can take quite a while. So when you make a pom-pom like this, your pom-pom will be kind of ugly and misshapen. So you're going to have to go in with scissors and shape it up a little bit. And again, I don't know why I'm using these tiny little scissors. This was terrible and didn't work very well, so I had to go in and fix it later. But for the sake of the video, just pretend that I'm making this really round and pretty. So I kind of like flattening it and then shaping it round and then going at a different angle and flattening it a different way. Just sort of trying to make like a nice sphere shape, and currently it is not. And so there is our finished pom-pom. And there's our two strands of yarn that we're going to use to attach it to the hat. So you're just going to take a tapestry needle and you're going to thread that onto a tapestry needle. And this is super simple. You can always take this off the hat if you realize that you didn't like it. So we're going to poke our needle through to the inside of the hat. And then we're going to thread the other strand of yarn onto our tapestry needle, and you're going to poke that through about a centimeter or half an inch away from the other one, directly across from it. You don't want them to be too close together or else it'll be very like bobbly. We want it to be secure on there. And so we're going to flip our hat inside out, and there's our two strands about a half inch apart, and we're going to tie that super tight, super well, do a double knot. I really like tying things. And here I even did a triple knot. And I just clipped that. You can sew in those ends if you want to, or weave in those ends. I just didn't want to. It's the inside of the hat, no one's looking at it. And then your hat's done. I just noticed this little scraggly bit right here because it's just not perfect, so I just clipped that real quick. And now we're done. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you make the kid hat. I had a lot of fun designing it. It's one of my favorite designs I've ever made. If you want a printable PDF copy of this pattern, I'm going to have that link in the description to my Etsy. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you thought of it in the comments. Let me know what you want me to make next in the comments. And I will see you guys later. Bye!